Hello. Well, today it should be session 8 for us, and I'm trying at the moment to see where I've hidden the exercise for our tenor players. Stretches. I'm in a slightly different place today, as you probably can tell. It's been so hot where I am. Maybe it's been hot where you are. It's been hard for me to do anything. Apologize for the sound. It's going to be horrible today. Doors are open, windows are open, kids are outside in the yard playing. You're going to hear sounds. You're going to not hear a lot of playing, so that's good. Breathing. We all still need to do our stretches and our breathing for Recorder 101 Session 8. So let's see, that's some stretching, not a whole lot. I want to say something again about silent practice. I don't think I've said an awful lot about it recently. Not really since the very beginning, Session 1, Lesson 1. Remember when we began, doesn't matter whether we were starting with the soprano or the alto or the tenor. Basically, we were doing pretty much the same thing. So you can do that, both hands. Harder to do as the mouthpiece gets bigger. That's the alto. This is the soprano. You can really see the size difference. Yes, they're different. On the soprano, like this is a G. On the alto, it's a C. Now that haven't started the breathing exercises, but I do strongly suggest that all of you who are taking this, even semi-seriously, really learn the names of the notes, because, well, yes, last time we were taking some of the half-hold notes on the soprano recorder, but we were using the Baroque or English soprano. And this is my German soprano. A little bit different. And today we're going to take the higher notes on the alto recorder, which is why I've got them in hand today. So really no new tune today, but I expect that as you go through these things, bit by bit, that they're going to be here. You can refer back to them as much as you want to, but what are the things that you're doing each and every time? So if you're doing silent practice, because after all, the soprano is a high, our low C on the soprano is this C on the alto. And that was something I covered in the very first lesson about where we actually are on the scale, even though with our C, we're calling that middle C. It's not middle C. It's a full octave above. And last week, with the soprano, that's what we're calling our high C. Middle C, it's not middle C, it's an octave above. So that's 2 octaves above. That's with the thumb and the middle finger down. So we don't really get that until we get to the tenor recorder. We don't really get middle C until we get to the tenor recorder, and that's the lowest note on the tenor recorder. And then our soprano recorders is when the tenors go one up. So really take the time, study the lines, know what the names are, because as you advance, you'll be able to say, especially if you're playing an alto, okay, that's a C. Aha, so it's this C. I can start from here. I can ignore those, so I can go down from there if we're seeing just regular notes and thinking sopranos going from this C, all holes closed. We can do so much more than with the alto. You can still do more with a tenor, but we're taking this bit by bit. So in the practice, we've done things from the beginning that were like, and last week we began to have things like and going from this to the next high note. So we've got to bring these fingers down and half hold. Now, when I first heard, well, maybe not first heard, but when I was first introduced to the exercise of doing, it was introduced as, how are you? So if you're working on questions or English intonation, you can do the reverse as well. How are you? These are very good little finger exercises which we need, especially as we go up the scale. So, considering that these are things that you probably wouldn't need until you were taking a course like Recorder 102, which I am at this point not even vaguely planning on doing, but you'll need those notes at some point in your life. So you need to have them introduced now. So we've gone from that's it. And I've got this in my hand because last week, when using the Baroque recorder, the next note on the Baroque recorder is going to be like this. But on the German recorder, that's the next note. Okay? So if you have access to the course and are looking at those notes, that's your next note. And the note after that is the same as the other one. And that's a hard one to get. Sometimes it just doesn't work. And what do you do when it's not working? And that was the highest note that we dealt with last week on the soprano. And it's getting very close now on the soprano to your highest note. Very close. It will look like in a few minutes when we get to the tenor, the alto, excuse me, when we get to the alto, it's going to look like you can go higher. But that's because it starts higher. It's not really that it's that much higher. Okay, so here we are with these things. And you can hear quite clearly that I'm having difficulty getting that note. It's not coming out higher. And you may have to take some time really experimenting with how you blow, because that's what I was experimenting with just now. It's not very strong, very intense, very focused. Okay, so pay attention to what you need, but as you practicing this and driving yourself nuts with the sound, any recorders, you can do this silently, because it's your fingers you're trying to train. And you can rest the thing on your chin, the beak on your chin, and blow. And train your fingers. Your thumb still in the back. I could try bringing this up to the camera. I don't think I've moved my thumb, but I might have. This is a time when you don't want long fingernails on your thumb. At least this thumb. Sorry. Fingernails on the rest of the hand, fine, because you're not really playing with fingernails. But here, you're going to need something that you can half hold, if you know you're going to be half holding. So it's a little bit more than half the hold. And I'm really jabbing my thumb in there into the hole, because I don't want any air seeping sort of underneath the fingernail around, because that alters the sound as well. And I think, as I mentioned last week, I've sort of got grooves in all of the thumb holes now. Anyway, I wanted to point out that the F on the Baroque recorder is this F on our German recorder, soprano recorder. It would be the same. Okay, now, don't forget, you can do all sorts of practice regardless of which instrument you're doing silently, just by resting the beak on your chin and practicing your fingering and breathing. Do 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 do. Breathing. Now, I have in front of me, and I'm only going to post one little line of music today, and that's for the altos, because it's time for you to get that up there too. So, now I have to think. This is the C that's above the middle C. D, E, F. So I still have thumb and middle finger down for F. And on our normal 5-line scale, that F is shown as the top line. Okay? I talked a little bit about this also in the very first lesson, so if you need to go back and look at that, you can. Now, what we're looking at today is going to be above that and are going to be ledger lines. Okay, so we've got that. Now, just exactly like the soprano did last week, our next note is going to have these down and a half hold in the back. And our F here is the next one. So that was a G. That's G, which would normally be on our soprano this note. Sounds a bit different, doesn't it? But, okay, back here, we've got our G, half hold. So this is the space above the top line. And the next one is the A, and that's a ledger line above. And this is the correct fingering for the Baroque alto F. Excuse me. My apologies. A, not F. I can get confused too. I've got the letters written down on my cheat sheet. And after this, so this is going up to, let's see, A, B, C. Oh dear, my goodness, I seem to have misplaced my last note, which is typical, because that's going to be a high D. And am I going to be able to get to that? There's the C. I need to take my glasses off to see. I specifically didn't order reading glasses this time. That's the D. Okay, that was the D. So what did I miss? That's the C, yes. Okay. What did I miss? That's the B. Sopranino Alto. Always good to check what you've got. I have a feeling that I may have gotten something mixed up there. That's the F, yes. G, yes. Okay. So, I'm going to correct myself. Okay. F, thumb flat, forefinger down. G, finger up. This is where I went wrong. A, half hold. B, C, D. So the sounds were right, but the notes that I mentioned were actually wrong. Okay? Going back. Be aware. I've got a little scale pattern for you here with the I moved my thumb to get the right sound. Okay, now both sopranos and altos, tenors, all now have these higher fingering notes. Take your time. Put them into your list of goals. I don't think I've talked much about your list of goals since the first lesson, maybe I've mentioned them once or twice in previous lessons, you should have goals. Okay? I just want to play the recorder. This is so vague. But if you have specific things you want to do, write them down. And these should be there. Just mastering the fingering, mastering making the notes. And then, again, like I was struggling with this one. I mentioned this half-hold one, which is the high D. I had to wiggle my thumb to get it to come out right. And, you know, then doing just do things with these notes and these shapes and do different things. Now you can, if you're really paying attention, and I'm half-holding here and going from this C, there's the D, half-hold, and the C, coming down the scale, zip, and here's the next one down, what's below C, B, if you're following the A, B, C, D, E, F, G scale. If you're following the A, H, C scale, then that's a little bit different. So coming down from C to B, B to A to G. Can't really see that the thumb is gone, but it's gone. And personally, I struggle with the G to any other note. That bothers me. Hopefully you'll do enough practice that you won't. Hopefully you're going to have your goal right from now to really get smooth at all of these. And you're going to make your own little tunes. You'll get some music sheets and you'll practice, you know, just plop the notes down and you're going to do that and you'll be making your own music. This is fine. Excellent. Goals. I've looked carefully at what I have planned for the through December for music, and I've got at least 4 more tunes to provide for you. I'm considering one, but I haven't found that it is medieval. And since we're focusing on medieval stuff, I really want to be sure. All I've found is it's traditional, and the first mention of it being performed is from 1968. How did that become traditional? I'm not convinced. So, there's that. And the next week we're going to have a new piece for the month. It will be in 2 parts, so we will need to learn the 2 parts separately. It's a dance. It will be fast. Take the dance from last week, keep moving it forward. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention this week, goals and performance. I have mentioned this once or twice before. Are you going to perform solo? That's a goal. Are you going to perform with others? That's a goal. If you're really a beginner, how are you supposed to really keep yourself up with all the others? Maybe you just take the first note of every measure and play that. If there are other really good players there, that's enough. For a first performance, that can really be enough. And it provides for the overall sound within a performance. Very often, the first note in each measure is going to be the most important one. Sometimes it'll be the last note in the measure. It's just as easy to play that one. If there is a particular note that happens like 3 times in a measure, play that one if you're really a beginner. So there are ways of fitting in, and it's very helpful if whoever you're playing with and you can do rehearsals. And rehearsals help bring you together so that the sound begins to sound like it is playing together. So those are important things as well to keep in mind with performance and your goals. So I hope this is somewhat helpful for you all today, and my apologies for the open doors, the hot weather, anyway, that's it for today, and we'll have more next week. So, new tune for July. Oh my.